Welcome back, everyone, to our playthrough of the career mode here in NASCAR Heat 2. And yes, I am still dealing with the head and chest cold that is unfortunately going around my family right now. Still trying to save my voice, so just like with the last video, there will be no commentary or anything once we get to the actual race itself. Again, just trying to save my voice as much as I possibly can. So let's talk a little bit about Pocono. Since we couldn't discuss anything during or after the race, Pocono went rather well. The setup that I used allowed the car to turn a little bit more than what we had been using up to that point, particularly in the rear spring split. So that was a very good thing, and it turned out we got a podium finish, a top 3 out of that. It took me a while in that race because of all the traffic and everything to really catch a rhythm, particularly in turns 1 and 2. Turn 3, I've run so many times, for whatever reason, it just feels natural to me, and I can run that one fairly well regardless. But turns 1 and 2 are difficult for me to get a handle on until I get some laps in, just because of how different the traffic is from one corner to the other. But I had a lot of fun in that race. There was some good racing there, particularly toward the end for the last few laps. And, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get to 3rd place. I thought we might be finishing about 5th. I could get a good run on those guys, but particularly in turn 2, I was having a rough time getting through there because I wanted to drive it in hard, but at the same time, I knew better than to try to go in too hard because of the setup we were using. I knew it wasn't going to rotate as well as I wanted. So a lot of indecision on my part is what wasted some time before we were finally able to clear for 3rd place and then drive away on that last lap. So now we come to Michigan, and Michigan is going to be, traditionally Michigan is flat out in all 3 of the series, from Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup. So it's going to be interesting to see what I can do with the setup here to maybe keep us from running wide open. Part of that is the traffic that you're in. If we're in a lot of traffic, we might not be able to run wide open just from that point of view. But I do want to try to get a good finish, but at the same time, I don't want us to get so close to the lead that we're, in danger of running away with it. So that's what I'm trying to sort of sneak up on it a little bit, you might say, rather than just going all out with the setup and trying to get as much speed as we can. And a lot of this, of course, is I'm trying to give you guys some ideas on what you can adjust in the setup and how that will affect the car. And hopefully you've been able to get some ideas from the different videos, whether we finished, in the 20s or whether we finished in the top 5 or somewhere in between that. But Michigan is always fun. It is fast, it's wide, and should be a fun race. Before we hit the track, let's go ahead and spend a couple of minutes talking about the setup itself. Nothing in the shocks or weight settings really should stand out to you if you've been paying attention to what we've been running in the last several races. I tend to play around with the front weight a little bit, and that's mostly if I need to tighten up the car a little bit to take a little bit of speed out of it, then I can move some weight forward. If I need to loosen it up a little bit or just help ease the amount of rotation that we can get out of the car and a little bit of speed, then I can lower the front weight a little bit. Anywhere from 50.5 to 51.0 is generally what I like to use. So it's more of a fine-tuning thing than anything else. As far as the springs go, front springs are the same as I've basically been using everywhere. And the rear springs, you notice that over the last few races, I have been trying out a little bit more rear spring split. The less rear spring split you use, the tighter the car will be and the less it will want to rotate. That is one of the quickest ways to scrub speed out of the car. If you really want to slow the car down, take the rear spring split out of it. And what I mean by that is make the rear springs closer to the same. I've been using 350 pounds on both of the rears for a good portion of the year so far. And now I'm trying to loosen that up, and now we're up to 100 pounds of rear spring split. And again, that just lets the car rotate and carry more speed through the corners. Tire settings, not a whole lot to talk about there. It's pretty similar to what I released for the setup on the channel itself. And then we get down to another, in the miscellaneous settings, another quick and easy way to take some speed out of the car, and that is the camber. We're using a maximum of 2 degrees right now. That's sort of a self-imposed limit that I've put on myself so far. I know that there has been one, maybe two instances where I've gone beyond that, but for the most part, I'm trying to limit speed using the camber as well. And then the track bar, just tried to raise it up a little bit here just to help the car rotate. Again, it's flat out all the way around the track, or at least it is whenever you're by yourself. Traffic may be a very different story, but it's wide open and just trying to maintain some sort of speed. I got a feeling that the racing is going to be much like it would be at Talladega, and so it's going to be hug the bottom and everybody knows to tail. And I'm not really interested in that type of racing, but at the same time, it is what it is here at Michigan. So brake bias is at 68%. Again, I don't estimate having to use the brakes a whole lot, except for maybe dragging them a little bit in traffic. Once again, I will not have the microphone on during the race. So at this point, I appreciate you joining me, and stay tuned for more NASCAR Heat 2 coverage here at NEPIG Gaming.
Still a car out